He was the smoldering villain in Fantastic Four, the ruthless plastic surgeon in Nip/Tuck and Offscreen, a real-life heartbreaker who left more broken engagements than a rom-com reject pile. Julian McMahon had the looks, the fame, the talent, and a knack for making terrible life choices that would make even a soap opera writer blush. Born into Australian political royalty, he was raised under pressure so intense it could have turned coal into diamonds. But instead of following his father's footsteps into politics, Julian said, "Nah, I'd rather chase the spotlight and a few bad decisions." And boy, did those decisions cost him marriages, relationships, and probably a few good therapists. He had the jawline of a Greek god and the relationship track record of a reality TV star. This is the story of Julian McMahon, the heartthrob who kept breaking everything, especially hearts. Julian was the only son of former Australian Prime Minister Sir William McMahon, a man so posh his morning coffee probably came with a title. The world expected Julian to be a lawyer or politician, but he was like, suits? Speeches? Hard pass. His dad called acting a waste of time, which is basically the parental equivalent of saying, you're gonna regret that face tattoo. So, Julian packed his bags, flipped the bird to expectations, and jetted off to chase fame. He started in the late 80s as a model, because, let's be honest, with that face, he was basically born to sell cologne. He landed some TV gigs in Australia, but it wasn't enough. So, with less than $200 in his pocket and a vibe that screamed, I'll figure it out, he hopped a plane to America. That defiance got him the career he wanted. But it also set the stage for a life of hold my beer moments that would make even Charlie Sheen wince. In the early 90s, Julian met Australian pop star Dannii Minogue, who was basically the Kylie Minogue of Sparkle but with fewer chart toppers. They were young, hot, and ready to defy everyone. They tied the knot in 1994, probably thinking, we're gonna be Australia's power couple. Spoiler, they weren't. Julian's mom was not a fan of Dannii, probably because she didn't come with a law degree or a coat of arms. Plus, Julian's budding career in America meant he was spending more time on planes than with his wife. The marriage lasted 18 months, about as long as a Netflix free trial. At 21, he married Australia's pop darling. The fairy tale lasted 18 months. Why'd they split? Well, let's just say Julian was already running, probably to catch a flight and a bad decision. Next up, Julian fell for Brooke, the Baywatch babe who could make slow-motion beach running look like high art. They got married in 1999 and had a daughter, Madison. For a hot second, it looked like Julian might actually settle down. But then came Charmed, where Julian played a demon with a side of smolder. Off-screen, he started a romance with co-star Shannon Doherty, because apparently he thought, what's better than one drama? 2. Brooke didn't find out from a heart-to-heart, she found out from the National Enquirer. Talk about a plot twist that stings worse than sunscreen in your eyes. She found out from the tabloids. It wasn't just a betrayal, it was humiliation so public it probably came with its own gossip column. Then came Nip/Tuck, where Julian played Dr. Christian Troy, a plastic surgeon so sleazy he made used car salesmen look like saints. His chemistry with co-star Kelly Clarkson was so hot it could have melted the set. And guess what? It wasn't just acting. Their on-set romance was like a roller coaster with no brakes, passionate, messy, and destined to crash. They kissed on camera, screamed behind the scenes, and broke up so quietly even the paparazzi missed it. They kissed on camera, screamed backstage, and fell apart like a cheap IKEA table. Even the cast was like, wait, were they dating or just method acting? Julian later said, sometimes you lose yourself in the role and forget who you are. Translation, I got so good at playing a train wreck, I became one. Julian kept working, Fantastic Four, more TV, the occasional, hey, it's that guy, guest spot. But Hollywood's a fickle beast, and by the 2010s, the roles started drying up faster than a bad Tinder dates conversation. Julian, now older and less in demand, went from leading man to remember him? In 2014, he married Kelly Paniagua, a model and screenwriter who was like, I'm not here for the Hollywood circus. She brought calm to his chaos, and they stayed together until his death in 2025. But even that happy ending came after a lifetime of emotional fumbles that could fill a blooper reel. And here's the kicker. Near the end, Julian reportedly tried to make peace with his past. He reached out to someone he hadn't spoken to in decades, not his dad, who was long gone, but someone who mattered. Before he died, Julian made one last call to fix an old wound. His father was gone, but the ghost of "you're not enough" never stopped haunting him. Julian had it all: fame, money, women, power. But it turns out Hollywood's promises are about as reliable as a dollar store umbrella. In interviews, he'd get quiet, his eyes drifting like he was looking for the guy he used to be. "I spent years trying to prove I wasn't just the Prime Minister's son," he said. But when you keep leaving people behind, you're basically running a marathon with no finish line. He didn't blame the tabloids or his exes. He pointed the finger at himself, which is honestly more self-awareness than you'd expect from a guy who once played a demon with a perm. Julian McMahon wasn't just a soap star, a Marvel villain, or the guy who made nip/tuck appointment TV. He was a rebel who ran from a legacy, tripped over his own heart, and still managed to leave a mark. He left behind a daughter, a quiet marriage, and a body of work that screamed, "I'm more than my mistakes." Even if he didn't always believe it, Hollywood loved his face. Fans loved his roles. But the people who really knew him? They saw the guy who'd crack a joke to hide the pain, who'd charm you silly but never quite let you in. Maybe that's why Julian's story hits hard. In a world of Instagram filters and red carpet smiles, he was the guy who reminded us, even heartthrobs bleed. If you love such stories, comment, share, like, and subscribe to our channel, which picks pieces of stories and combines them into one alluring story that keeps you informed and entertained.